What if everything you've been told about running technique is incomplete? What if there's a method so powerful that Olympic marathoners, track champions, and ultra-distance legends have been using it for decades, yet it remains hidden from recreational runners? Right now, you're probably running in a way that's costing you speed, wasting your energy, and potentially setting you up for injury. There's a technique that can transform your running economy by up to 15%, reduce your injury risk dramatically, and make running feel effortless even at faster paces. Elite athletes from Kenya, Ethiopia, and training centers around the world have mastered this, and today, you're going to learn their secret. This isn't about running harder or logging more miles. This is about running smarter, with a technique so elegant that once you understand it, you'll wonder why nobody taught you this from day one. The revelation at the end is going to completely change how you think about every single step you take. Welcome to the journey that will revolutionize your running in 2026 and beyond. Today, we're unlocking the biomechanical secrets that separate elite runners from everyone else, and I'm going to show you exactly how to implement this technique starting with your very next run. Prepare-se para descobrir why some runners seem to float effortlessly while others struggle and grind with every stride. The answers are rooted in science, refined by champions, and now accessible to you. But first, I need to know where you're running from. Comment below right now and tell me which city or country you're watching from. Are you training in Chicago, running through the streets of London, pounding the pavements of Sydney, or maybe trail running in the mountains of Colorado? Drop your location in the comments. I love connecting with runners from all over the world, and it helps me understand the diverse environments where you're all putting in the work. Now, let's dive into the technique that's going to transform your running forever. Let me start with a fundamental truth that most runners never fully grasp. Running is controlled falling. Every step you take is essentially catching yourself from falling forward. The most efficient runners in the world have mastered the art of falling forward with minimal braking, minimal energy waste, and maximum forward propulsion. This is the foundation of what's called the pose method of running, combined with principles of natural running mechanics that elite athletes intuitively understand. The technique I'm about to teach you integrates these concepts into a practical system you can apply immediately. The core principle is this: your body should act as a spring-loaded wheel, not a piston engine. Most recreational runners have what we call a piston-style gait. They push off hard with each step, extend their leg forward, and land with their foot ahead of their center of mass. This creates a braking force with every single stride, literally slowing you down as you try to speed up. Elite runners do something completely different. They maintain a forward lean from the ankles, not the waist, creating a constant state of controlled falling. Their foot strikes the ground directly underneath their center of mass, not out in front. They pull their foot off the ground quickly using their hamstrings rather than pushing off with their calves and quads. And they maintain a high cadence, typically 170 to 190 steps per minute, which keeps ground contact time minimal. These elements work together to create a running style that looks effortless because it is biomechanically efficient. When you run this way, you're working with gravity instead of fighting against it. You're using elastic energy storage in your tendons and fascia instead of relying purely on muscular force. And you're minimizing the destructive impact forces that lead to common running injuries like shin splints, runner's knee, and plantar fasciitis. Let's break down the first critical element: the forward lean. This is not a bend at the waist, which many runners mistakenly do. When you bend at the waist, you're collapsing your core and compromising your breathing mechanics. The correct forward lean comes from the ankles. Imagine your entire body as a rigid plank, from your head through your ankles, and this plank tilts forward from the ankles. This creates the falling sensation that drives you forward. The degree of lean is subtle, just a few degrees, but it's constant throughout your run. You maintain this lean whether you're running easy or fast. When you want to speed up, you don't lean more. Instead, you allow your legs to cycle faster to keep up with the increased falling speed. This is counterintuitive for most runners who have been taught to drive with their legs and push harder to go faster. The genius of the forward lean is that it harnesses gravity as your primary propulsion force. Gravity is free, constant, and inexhaustible. Muscular force, on the other hand, requires energy, creates fatigue, and has limits. Elite runners understand this instinctively. Watch footage of Eliud Kipchoge running a marathon. His posture is perfectly upright with that subtle forward lean. He's not bouncing up and down. He's not pushing off aggressively. He's simply falling forward with such precision and control that it looks like he's gliding. This is the technique we're replicating. When you nail the forward lean, you immediately feel lighter on your feet. Running becomes less muscular and more rhythmic. Your breathing improves because your posture is optimal, and your energy expenditure drops because you're leveraging physics instead of fighting it. Now pense conmigo about your current running form. When you run, do you feel like you're pushing off hard with each step? Do you feel your calves burning after a few miles? Do you land with your foot ahead of your body, hearing a loud slapping sound with each stride? These are all signs that you're running with a piston gait instead of utilizing the forward lean principle. Comment right now and tell me, I push off hard, if this describes your current running style, or I lean forward if you're already implementing this technique. Understanding where you are is crucial for knowing what adjustments you need to make. Most runners have never been taught proper running mechanics. They just go out and run, based on what feels natural, which unfortunately isn't always what's most efficient or safe. The second critical element of elite running technique is the midfoot strike with minimal ground contact time. This is where we see the biggest difference between recreational and elite runners. Most recreational runners are heel strikers. They land on their heel with their foot extended in front of their body, which creates a massive braking force with every step. It's like tapping on your brakes while simultaneously pressing the gas pedal. You're fighting against your own forward momentum. Some runners, after learning about the problems with heel striking, overcorrect and become aggressive forefoot strikers, landing on their toes. This can be equally problematic because it overloads your calves and Achilles tendons, leading to different injuries. The optimal landing is a midfoot strike where your foot lands flat, with the ball of your foot and heel touching down virtually simultaneously, directly underneath your center of mass. When you combine the midfoot strike with minimal ground contact time, magic happens. Your foot becomes like a wheel touching the ground briefly and then quickly pulling back up. Think about how a wheel rolls efficiently. It touches the ground and immediately continues its circular motion. Your running stride should mimic this. The moment your foot touches down, you should be thinking about pulling it back up using your hamstrings. This is very different from the pushing motion most runners use. Elite runners have ground contact times of around 0.18 to 0.22 seconds. Recreational runners often have contact times of 0.25 to 0.35 seconds or even longer. Those extra milliseconds might seem insignificant, but over the course of thousands of steps in a run, they add up to massive differences in speed and efficiency. The technique for achieving minimal ground contact time involves what's called the pull. Instead of thinking about pushing off with your foot, think about pulling your foot off the ground the instant it makes contact. Imagine the ground is hot lava, and you need to get your foot up quickly. This mental cue helps activate your hamstrings and create the quick, snappy stride turnover that characterizes elite running. Your hamstrings are incredibly powerful and efficient muscles for running. They're involved in pulling your leg through the swing phase and pulling your foot up off the ground. When you push off using your calves and quads, you're using smaller, less efficient muscles that fatigue more quickly. By shifting to a pulling motion, you're recruiting better muscles for the job and creating a more efficient stride pattern. This also relates to the concept of elastic energy return. Your tendons and connective tissues act like springs when loaded properly. When you land with a midfoot strike underneath your center of mass and quickly pull up, you're allowing these elastic structures to store and release energy. It's like bouncing a basketball. The harder and quicker you press it down, the higher it bounces back. Your Achilles tendon, plantar fascia, and other connective tissues work the same way. But this only works if you have quick ground contact time. If you stay on the ground too long, the elastic energy dissipates as heat and you lose the free bounce. This is why elite runners seem to have a spring in their step. They're literally utilizing elastic recoil that recreational runners are missing out on by having slow, pushing-based strides. Você acredita nisso? Write in the comments if you've been pushing off instead of pulling up. So many runners have this backwards, and it's one of the primary reasons running feels hard and exhausting. When you shift to the pulling technique with minimal ground contact time, running becomes dramatically easier. You'll notice you can maintain faster paces with less effort. Your calves won't burn as intensely, because you're not relying on them for propulsion, and your overall running efficiency will improve measurably. The science backs this up completely. Studies using force plates and motion capture have shown that runners with shorter ground contact times and midfoot striking patterns have better running economy, meaning they use less oxygen at any given pace compared to heel strikers with long ground contact times. The third critical element is cadence, specifically maintaining a stride rate of 170 to 190 steps per minute. This is one of the most researched and validated aspects of running technique. Studies have consistently shown that increasing cadence by just 5 to 10% can reduce loading forces on your joints and improve running efficiency. Most recreational runners have cadences in the range of 150 to 165 steps per minute. This slower cadence typically correlates with overstriding, heel striking, and all the inefficient mechanics we've been discussing. When you increase your cadence to the elite range, several beneficial things happen automatically. Your stride length naturally shortens, which brings your foot strike closer to your center of mass. Your ground contact time decreases because you're cycling your legs faster, and your vertical oscillation reduces, meaning you're not bouncing up and down as much. The 180 steps per minute benchmark has become famous in running circles, and for good reason. Research by legendary running coach Jack Daniels found that virtually all elite distance runners, regardless of their size or speed, maintained cadences of at least 180 steps per minute. This isn't coincidental. 180 steps per minute appears to be a biomechanical sweet spot where the human body runs most efficiently. Now, some elite runners go even higher, into the 190 to 200 range, but 180 is an excellent target for most runners to aim for. The beautiful thing about cadence is that it's easily measurable and adjustable. You can use a metronome app, count your steps for 15 seconds and multiply by 4, or use a running watch that tracks cadence. Once you know your current cadence, you can work on gradually increasing it. Here's how to implement cadence training. Start by measuring your natural cadence during an easy run. Let's say you're currently at 160 steps per minute. Don't try to jump immediately to 180 because that will feel incredibly awkward and you'll fatigue quickly. Instead, increase by 5%, which would bring you to 168 steps per minute. Run with this cadence for a few weeks until it feels natural. Then bump it up another 5% to 176. Continue this progression until you reach at least 175 to 180. The adjustment period is important. Your muscles, tendons, and nervous system need time to adapt to the new movement pattern. If you change too quickly, you risk injury because you're loading tissues in ways they're not accustomed to. When you're working on increasing cadence, use music or a metronome to help pace yourself. There are playlists specifically curated to beats per minute that match running cadences. A song at 180 beats per minute will have you stepping in time with the beat. This makes the process easier and more enjoyable. Charyu9 can also use verbal cues like quick feet or light and quick to remind yourself to maintain the faster turnover. Over time, the higher cadence becomes automatic. Your nervous system adapts and the new pattern becomes your default. When this happens, you'll notice that running at your old cadence feels sluggish and inefficient. You'll naturally gravitate toward the faster turnover because your body recognizes how much better it feels. The combination of these three elements, forward lean from the ankles, midfoot strike with minimal ground contact time achieved through pulling, and high cadence creates what biomechanists call an efficient running gait. Every element supports the others. The forward lean encourages a midfoot strike underneath your center of mass. The pulling motion naturally shortens ground contact time, and the high cadence reinforces all of these mechanics. When you put them together, You're running the way elite athletes run. Not coincidentally, this is also the way humans evolved to run. Before modern running shoes with thick cushioned heels, humans ran barefoot or in minimal footwear. The natural running gait that evolved over millions of years looks exactly like what we're describing here. Forward lean, midfoot strike, quick turnover. Modern running shoes, particularly those with excessive heel cushioning, have actually corrupted natural running mechanics for many people. The thick heel encourages heel striking because you can get away with it without immediate pain. But just because you can heel strike in cushioned shoes doesn't mean you should. The forces are still there, still impacting your joints, still creating inefficiencies. This is why many elite runners train in relatively minimal flat shoes that promote better mechanics. You don't necessarily need to go completely barefoot or minimalist, but understanding that shoe design can influence your gait is important. If you're serious about improving your running technique, consider gradually incorporating some runs in flatter, less cushioned shoes to help reinforce proper mechanics. Now let's talk about implementation, because understanding the technique intellectually is very different from executing it physically. The transition to proper running technique must be gradual and patient. Your body has been running with your current mechanics for years, possibly decades. Your muscles, tendons, and nervous system are adapted to those patterns. When you change your technique, even if the new technique is biomechanically superior, you're asking your body to do something unfamiliar. This creates a temporary increase in injury risk if you do too much too soon. The key is progressive adaptation. Start by incorporating technique work for just 10 to 15 minutes of your runs. Focus on one element at a time. Perhaps spend a week focusing exclusively on the forward lean. The next week, work on the pulling motion. The following week, concentrate on cadence. As each element becomes more natural, you can combine them and gradually extend the duration of technique-focused running. Drills are incredibly valuable for ingraining proper running mechanics. One of the most effective is the 100-up drill, which has been used by runners for over a century. Stand in place and march, bringing your knees up to hip height while maintaining perfect posture with a slight forward lean from the ankles. Focus on pulling your foot off the ground quickly. Do this for 30 seconds to 1 minute. The 100-up drill teaches your nervous system the pulling motion and high cadence in a controlled environment. Another excellent drill is rope skipping, which naturally creates quick ground contact time and high cadence. Just 5 minutes of jump rope before a run can prime your nervous system for better running mechanics. Hill sprints are another powerful tool for developing proper technique. When you run uphill, especially on steep grades, you naturally adopt many elements of good running form. You can't overstride uphill. You naturally land on your midfoot or forefoot. Your cadence increases. And you use a pulling motion because pushing is ineffective on steep inclines. By doing short, steep hill sprints once or twice per week, you're reinforcing proper mechanics in a way that transfers to your flat running. Keep the hill sprints short, just 10 to 20 seconds each, with full recovery between repetitions. The goal isn't conditioning, it's neuromuscular training for better technique. Agora pense comigo about your goals for 2026. Do you want to run your first marathon? Set a new personal record in the 10-kilometer? Simply enjoy running more without pain or exhaustion? Whatever your goal, proper running technique is the foundation that makes it all possible. You can have the best training plan in the world, but if your mechanics are inefficient, you're leaving enormous potential on the table. Elite runners understand that technique is not optional. It's the difference between good and great. The athletes dominating world championships and Olympic podiums aren't just fitter or more talented than everyone else. They've also mastered the mechanics of efficient running. And now you have access to the same knowledge and techniques. Comment right now and tell me what your biggest running goal is for 2026. Write sub-3 marathon if you're chasing a marathon time goal, injury-free year if staying. Healthy is your priority. First race. If you're new to competitive running, or whatever your specific goal is, sharing your goal publicly is a powerful form of commitment. It makes it real and it creates accountability. And I want to know what you're working toward so I can create more content to help you get there. The community we're building here is full of runners at all levels supporting each other's journeys. You're not alone in this pursuit. Here's something that might surprise you. Improving your running technique will actually make you slower temporarily. When you first start implementing these changes, your pace will drop. Your easy runs that used to be at 8-minute miles might suddenly be at 8:30 or 9-minute miles. This is completely normal and expected. You're learning new movement patterns, activating different muscles, and your body is not yet efficient with the new mechanics. This is where many runners give up. They try the new technique for a week, see their pace slow down, and conclude that their old way was better. This is a critical mistake. The temporary slowdown is part of the adaptation process. If you push through it, staying patient and consistent with the technique work, your pace will not only return to previous levels, but will surpass them because you're now running more efficiently. Think of it like learning a new skill in any domain. When you first learn to type properly with all fingers instead of hunt and peck typing, you're slower initially. But once you master it, you're dramatically faster and more efficient. Running technique is the same. The athletes who achieve the greatest improvements are those who have the patience to work through the awkward adaptation phase. They trust the process, focus on executing proper form rather than chasing pace, and allow their body the time it needs to adapt. Typically, this adaptation phase lasts 4 to 8 weeks. After that, you start feeling the benefits. Your running feels smoother and more effortless. Your pace begins improving without additional effort, and you notice you're recovering faster between runs. During the adaptation phase, your training intensity should be reduced. This is not the time to be doing high-volume weeks or intense interval sessions. Focus on easy-paced runs where you can concentrate on technique. Do your drills consistently. Be patient with the process. And listen to your body. If you feel unusual soreness, particularly in your calves, Achilles, or feet, these are signs that you're adapting to the new mechanics. Some soreness is normal and expected, but if it becomes painful or doesn't improve with rest, you may be progressing too quickly. Don't hesitate to back off and spend more time at each stage of the progression. There's no prize for adapting quickly. The prize comes from adapting correctly and sustainably. One final critical element that ties everything together is body awareness and mindfulness while running. Elite runners have exceptional proprioception, meaning they have acute awareness of their body position and movement in space. They can feel subtle differences in their stride and make real-time adjustments. This level of body awareness is developed through deliberate practice. When you run, especially during technique-focused sessions, bring your full attention to your movement. Notice how your feet strike the ground. Feel the position of your hips and shoulders. Sense your breathing rhythm. When your mind wanders, which it naturally will, gently bring your attention back to your form. This mindful running practice not only improves your technique, but also makes running more enjoyable and meditative. Video analysis can be incredibly helpful for developing body awareness. Have someone film you running from the side and from behind. Watch the footage and compare it to videos of elite runners. Look for the elements we've discussed: forward lean, foot strike position, ground contact, time, cadence. Seeing yourself run is often shocking, because what you think you're doing and what you're actually doing can be quite different. The camera doesn't lie. Once you see your actual mechanics, you can make more targeted corrections. Many runners discover they're not leaning forward as much as they thought, or their cadence is lower than they assumed. This objective feedback accelerates the learning process dramatically. As we approach the end of this journey together, I want you to understand something profound. Running technique is not just about going faster or preventing injuries, although those are certainly valuable benefits. Proper technique fundamentally changes your relationship with running. When you run efficiently, with good mechanics, running becomes joyful in a way it might never have been before. The struggle and grind transform into flow and rhythm. You find yourself looking forward to runs instead of dreading them. You can run longer and more frequently, without breaking down. Running becomes sustainable for decades, not just years. This is the gift that proper technique provides. It makes running a lifelong practice, rather than something you do until your body eventually rebels. The elite runners who use this technique aren't superhuman. They've simply learned to work with their body's design rather than against it. They've discovered the biomechanical principles that make running efficient and sustainable. And now you have access to the same knowledge. The question is what you'll do with it. Will you implement these techniques with patience and consistency? Will you prioritize quality of movement over quantity of miles? Will you trust the process even when it feels awkward or slow at first? These are the decisions that separate runners who achieve their potential from those who remain perpetually frustrated. Here's what I want you to do right now. First, leave a comment below telling me which element of this technique you're going to focus on first. Is it the forward lean, the midfoot strike and pulling motion, or the cadence? Committing to one specific focus area will help you make progress. Second, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're going deep into running performance. I have upcoming videos on specific drills, training plans that integrate technique work, and advanced topics like breathing mechanics and mental strategies. You don't want to miss any of this. Third, give this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable. It helps the algorithm show this content to more runners who need it. And finally, click on the video appearing on your screen right now, where I break down the exact training week structure that will help you implement this technique while building your fitness simultaneously. You've learned the what and why. Now you need the how in terms of practical training structure. Continue this journey with me. Your best running is ahead of you, not behind you. With proper technique, the right training, and consistent effort, 2026 can be your breakthrough year. Leave your comment about which technique element you're focusing on, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's transform your running together, one step at a time.